Well, hello, everyone. Both our students that are watching us live from Quaker Valley today, but also those that may be watching this recording. We are excited to have a couple of our navigators with us today. I'll tell you a little bit more about what that is to kind of set things up here in a second. But my name is Scott Dietz. I'm the Director of Workforce Development at Catalyst Connection. Catalyst Connection is a nonprofit organization that works with about 2,700 manufacturing companies across 12 counties of southwestern Pennsylvania. We're located in Hazelwood in Mill 19, which is what you can see here behind me, in what used to be an old steel manufacturing facility that's been transformed into a new, modern, state-of-the-art area for development of future talent, and organizations like ours and the Advanced Robotics for Manufacturing Institute and Carnegie Mellon and a bunch of folks. There's an autonomous vehicle company here. So all kinds of cool stuff happening in Pittsburgh. And we'll maybe dive into that a little bit. And some of our pre-chat, we were talking about some cool things happening. So we might dive into that a little bit today. So I'm going to encourage the folks that are watching live with us today. If you have any questions as we're going, feel free to come off mute and throw those in. We'll try to keep this pretty informal. But also you're welcome to use the chat and throw any questions in the chat. And both Hannah and I will monitor the chat and make sure that we throw those questions to Paul and Amber as we're going through the conversation here today. But our intent with this conversation today is really just to kind of give you some additional insights into career opportunities and career pathways, and maybe some opportunities that you may or may not be considering as far as your future careers. And we've got two fantastic representatives here with us from industry to be able to talk about their pathways and their journeys and a little bit of their insights into careers. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a little more detail, not steal any of their thunder. So, but let me just kind of set things up as to how we got connected to Paul and Amber. And they're part of our Young Manufacturing Ambassadors program, which means they're relatively early in their careers. And they're representing manufacturing and for us and the manufacturing related sector. And our Navigators program basically allows us to have individuals like this that we can tap into and provide to schools like Quaker Valley and others that can help to provide that career information and inspiration for what are next steps on this journey. And so we've trained them up. They're ready to speak. They've got a lot of great knowledge to share with them. We've got a chance to get to know them over the last almost a year now. And so we're going to spend a little bit of time chatting with them. So to set things up, I'm going to ask Amber to kick things off here. Amber, just tell us a little bit about, introduce yourself, tell us where you work and what you do there. And then we'll kick it to Paul then after that. So.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Amber, and I am the HR and Safety Administrator at JV Manufacturing. So JV is located in Natrona Heights, and we are a tool and die shop. So basically, we design and build carbide dies, as well as produce products from those dies. And the best way I like to describe a die is it's kind of like a cookie cutter. So we put it in a stamping press, and it just stamps out whatever that we want to make. So we make things like nuclear grid straps. We've done Energizer battery caps. During the height of the pandemic, we actually made face shields. We do car parts. I always tell people it's a lot of like miscellaneous things that you would never think of, like pen clips, a lot of small stuff like that. And what I do is I support the HR manager. I do a lot of JV's recruiting. I run our wellness program, and I help with any HR needs that occur. And then I'm pretty much in charge of all of safety now. So I just kind of took that over. So I just do, honestly, a lot of different things.
So Amber, especially for the young folks on the call, some may not be familiar with what HR is just yet. So what does HR stand for?
Human resources.
And what is the human resources? You mentioned recruiting. So pretty much everything dealing with the people side of the business, right, is kind of what falls under human resources.
Yep. Like when you apply for a job, that's probably the first person that you're going to talk to from that company. If you have any concerns while you're working, you go to HR. Anything with even payroll, sometimes getting paid and benefits and all that kind of stuff.
So HR is not only somebody you're going to have first introduction to students, but also somebody that you need to have a good relationship with, because you'll be interacting with them a lot, and they're a great supporter and conduit in your career journey. So we'll come back to you, Amber, but Paul, why don't you just do your intro for us?
Hi, yeah, I'm Paul Miller. I work for a company called CASCO USA. We are based out of Washington, Pennsylvania, but we're a sales and service company focused on compressed air systems. So we go to manufacturing companies like JV and others and provide them with a compressed air system that they use as a utility to manufacture their parts.
And because the students are going to be distracted by it, I have to point out that those palm trees, yes, they are real. So Paul is currently enjoying himself in Florida, but we appreciate the dedication, Paul, to this program and to speaking with the students, even while on vacation. So thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. Wouldn't miss it.
So, Paul, how did you begin your journey in your career and end up where you are? And did you think back to your younger self, did you have any idea that sales was something that was a possibility as a career? Was it something you always wanted to do?
No, my high school and college vision of what sales was not, it was like used car sales. It was like, I don't know, not something that I would be interested in. But sales is really an important and admirable profession, because you're helping people, you're guiding people in the right direction in an endeavor that they may be unfamiliar with. So with like compressed air systems, I work with maintenance managers and engineering managers, and these folks have they're very busy, and they cannot be an expert in all facets of the things that it takes to run their plant. So they lean on people like me to be an expert in this one field of study and help guide them. So it's more of a, yes, it's sales, but I view it more of like a helping position.
So what was your background in education, and did you work at other places prior to where you're at now?
So I went to CMU, but I went to Central Michigan University. And I was a merchandiser with Coca-Cola. So I'd go into grocery stores and stock their shelves. And I was going to Central Michigan. I was a biomedical science major, so totally unrelated to air compressors. And I didn't, like, after getting through college, I didn't know if the medical field is what I wanted to do. And that while I was working at Coca-Cola, the next job up the ranks from a merchandiser would be sales. So I interviewed for a few sales positions, and then I got an opportunity with CASCO, which I had worked one summer previously being a pipe installer. They were looking for a salesperson, and I got the opportunity, and it's been 12 years now.
So it always fascinates me, the journey that people take. Everybody thinks it's a straight line to their careers, and as a pathway that is easily replicated, or is like, the standard model of how you get into certain careers. And hopefully the students listening to this can see that it can be a meandering journey, and you might go to college for something you thought you wanted to do, but then pivot.
Yeah. And I think when I found the compressed air and manufacturing, it opened up a whole world that I didn't know existed, because you know that these products exist because you buy a Coca-Cola bottle of pop, or you eat a bag of chips, or you drive a car, and you know that these things are made, but you don't realize that a lot of the stuff is made around locally around you. So it opened up your eyes to that world.
Amber, tell us a little bit more about your journey to where you're at today.
Sure. So I went to school at Slippery Rock University. I actually graduated December of 21, so I'm kind of new to the field. And I internshiped at JV the summer of 21 as a safety intern. That was it was like mandatory to get an internship to graduate, so I got credits for it. So, and then So I went to school for safety. That was my main thing. And that kind of goes hand in hand with manufacturing, because when you work in manufacturing, a lot of safety is involved. You got to have your OSHA regulations and a lot of procedures put in place. So after I graduated, JV decided to hire me full time. And that's kind of when I got into a little bit of the HR side too. So it's been really good to learn all the HR stuff and kind of branch a little bit away from safety, but just honestly do it all together, because that's actually the perfect combination for me, in my opinion.
So, what made you decide to go into safety as far as college major? And there's a lot of applications for that, and a lot of different career. Manufacturing is one option, but there's a lot of options in that field too, right?
Yeah, when I started at Slippery Rock, I went in undecided because I had no idea what I wanted to do. But Slippery Rock is really big in safety. Actually, Slippery Rock and IUP, they're the big safety schools. So I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I heard a lot about safety. I heard a lot about all the different job opportunities. People told me all the time you would get a job right out of school. And that was kind of a big thing for me, is to try to get something right away. So, and then I also viewed safety as a way of helping people in a different way that people don't really think of, besides like, nurses, EMT, things like that. It's just a different way to help people and make sure, where they're working is safe and they can come home at night unharmed.
So, when thinking back to high school, college, was manufacturing even something that was on your radar? Or, and when you started with JV, I guess, kind of a combo question here. But when you started with JV, was manufacturing different than what you thought it was?
So I would say definitely in high school, it was never on my radar. But like I said, when I started doing safety in college, that was like my first foot in the door with manufacturing, because it really goes hand in hand. We learned all about the different industries when I went to school. We even like toured different places like steel mills, things like that. So that was really cool. And then did I miss one of your questions? How is manufacturing different?
Yeah, like just now that you're in it, is it a lot different than what you thought it was, and is it do you see a lot of possibilities within what you do at JV, but at the industry in general, I guess?
Yeah, I see all the possibilities just because there's so many different kind of jobs that you can get just besides being on the floor. There's all kinds of like, I want to say like background roles, like accounting, engineering, HR, safety, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would say it's a little bit different now that I'm in it and I'm doing it and I see kind of like the background and all kinds of stuff that goes into it.
And you look at a company that has so many different pieces of equipment and machinery and processes and technologies, keeping all that up and running. The industrial maintenance, just going to put a quick plug in, is one of the most high demand careers in manufacturing. Machinist is probably number 2, welder is number 3. But Paul, from your perspective, what do you see about the manufacturing sector? You're in such a diverse mix of companies on a daily basis. And we were talking earlier about just some of the exciting things happening in the region too, but what perspective would you bring to this conversation around what students should consider about manufacturing?
It's a really cool thing to see in person. How aluminum bottles are made, or glass in Monaca, it was modern glass, or excuse me, Anchor Hocking glass, but I can't remember. They changed names recently. But seeing that process where they melt down sand and then form a bottle, and then you see it in the store, that's what I think is really cool, is products that you utilize every single day, and then you get to see how they're made, or you can be a part of how they're made. That's what I find fascinating.
So, we think of air compressors and we think of, that's a technology that's been around for a lot of years.
Yeah.
Do you see a lot of technological advancements and changes happening in that space? And it's one of these things where the students have to understand that there's a constant learning curve, but also, that those that are tech savvy and those that are like these emerging technologies, there's a lot of opportunities that all that stuff kind of intertwines.
Yes. So compressed air is at a base, we consider it a utility. So to operate your home, you need water, gas, and electric. And the same is true for a manufacturing facility. They need water, they need gas, and they need electric, but they also need compressed air. So over time, that's that realization that this is a utility that's changed the way that people look at air compressors, and they actually have these controllers. They're basically computers, thousands of dollars in value, that operate. They turn the machines on and off. They trend the data. It's the Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution, where they're collecting this data, they're collecting it, they're reporting it, and now that we have the data, how can we make improvements? How can we save energy? How can we improve reliability? So yes, there's been a lot of technical changes with compressed air systems.
And we'll ask you the same thing as far as, what you see on a daily basis there, JV. Do you see a lot of technological changes and advancements and advanced tech stuff in your facilities?
Yeah, and a lot of it's been learning for me, just learning what all of these things are. But yeah, I would say every day we're always looking into new things and different ways to improve the processes. And even JV themselves went through a little bit of a culture change a couple years ago to kind of stray away from the old manufacturing mindsets to kind of, I guess, modernize it a little bit and, bring in diversity and all those things. But yeah, I'm always learning, especially when it comes to the technology side.
I don't want to play any insider baseball here as far as maybe things I know that are happening or being discussed that aren't official yet, but I know JV's even thinking about virtual reality to be able to leverage to train employees on equipment and technology. And the fact that a manufacturer is just thinking about leveraging something like VR, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, we were looking into that for training our press operators, more so to kind of help out people who are brand new to the industry, don't really know anything about it. And I would see that as a good way to, I guess, really help them visualize everything. But yeah, we were definitely looking into that.
But it's funny that, there's probably some students that are listening to this right now that have a VR headset at home or play video games via VR, but there's so many opportunities to apply that interest or that user experience to the design of those kind of resources, but or in some cases, I guess, games. But you can also apply that same knowledge and skill and ability to things like manufacturing or other industry sectors that are leveraging again, these emerging technologies. I think it's so exciting where the industry is going and what the possibilities that unlocks are for students. So Paul, when you think about all the different stuff that you've experienced over the time and kind of where your future career might take you. Obviously, we never know what the next bend in the road is going to be for us, but do you see a bright future in this, in sales or in manufacturing or in the, industrial spaces in general? And what do you see as the bigger picture? Even, again, so much exposure to so many different companies. What do you see as maybe highlight just some of the pathways or exciting things that are opportunities for students, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So I think that with, COVID related shipping issues, a long time ago, we made, everything here locally in the United States. And then over time, those manufacturing jobs were outsourced to other countries. And the last 2 or 3 years, we've noticed a reshoring of manufacturing because we've experienced those logistic issues, shipping delays. We need these products or we want these products and they're not coming over on a boat. And so we're starting to make them here again. So that's very exciting because it pushes innovation. It grows the economy. It's good for Pittsburgh as a manufacturing city in Western Pennsylvania. So yeah, it's a very exciting time in manufacturing, I think.
I'm going to encourage the schools, or I guess our school that's live. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We'd be happy to answer specific questions and tailor this conversation to things you want to hear as well. So Amber, being that you're in HR and we mentioned recruiting earlier, has JV been hiring, and what kind of things do you typically hire for at JV?
So since it's springtime, basically, we definitely start opening up to co-ops and interns, and we have an apprenticeship program, but that's a little bit different. Just like I said, myself, I was an intern here over the summer, and that was basically how I got hired. And I always tell people that's like the best thing ever, to go full time somewhere you intern, because you know what to expect, you know the people, you know if you like it. So I would say, yeah, definitely spring and summer is when we start bringing in students. And I always tell people too, if they're ever interested in just coming by for a tour or just to see what we do, or job shadow, even if it's just for a day, we've done that too. We don't limit anything. If people are interested, they're always welcome. And we hire for the most common thing that we hire for are press operators. Like I mentioned before, we have stamping presses, so they're kind of the ones that run those presses. And that's kind of what like we talked about before, the virtual reality, that was kind of the training we were looking for those positions. And then I always like to add that that's kind of like our intro position. If you don't really have any experience, that's good for you to kind of try out first. And then, if you're interested in something else, you have the foot in the door, so you can always try different things after that.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of opportunities to, it's not the job you're going to have necessarily forever, but, companies love seeing people that want to then branch out and take on new responsibilities, be project managers, be supervisors. There's a lot of folks that move from, working on the shop floor to moving into the quality department. A lot of guys that know the technology or know how the stuff is made and then move over to sales, I would imagine too, Paul. That's probably a natural transition for a lot of folks that have come to some of that technical background, but then also can jump into the sales side of things.
Yeah, especially in what I do, I'm technically a sales engineer. So there's a little bit of math and logic that plays into what you're selling to the customer. And I started out in the first year in our service department. We've recently had another service technician transition, 4 years in service and moving over to sales. It gives you that base knowledge of what you're selling. And then it's also nice because the customer sees that you are competent and you're able to work on this equipment and you know what you're talking about. So yeah, that's an easy transition there.
So if anybody that's listening to this is interested in potentially a career pathway in sales or sales engineering, specifically, the German Chamber of Commerce actually has a program that can help students on that pathway. So I just want to put that plug in there for the German Chamber and their programs. Amber, you've mentioned apprenticeships before. A lot of students don't know what apprenticeship programs are or what the benefits of an apprenticeship program are, but it is making a huge resurgence here in the United States. Can you just talk a little bit about what apprenticeships are and maybe what the apprenticeship looks like there at JV?
Yeah, so we actually do our apprenticeship with Catalyst Connection, where Scott and Hannah are from. So we partner with them. I think we're on our second cohort. So we started doing it 2 years ago. And that's where our employees can get on the job training. They also get classroom training, and they get customized training too. So they can actually pick what interests them and what they want to learn. And they all get to do it at work, on the clock, everything like that. And then they get their, I guess it's like their journeyman paperwork too. So they get those certifications after they're done. And it's just a great way to keep on learning while you're on the job and learn about different things that you might be interested in.
And I'll give a shout out to Quaker Valley, since they're the ones on live with us right now. We actually have our pre-apprenticeship program in Quaker Valley High School. So students have the opportunity to get some work experience while they're there in high school, but also earn up to 7 certifications before they even graduate high school. If you're not Quaker Valley and you're another school listening to this call, feel free to reach out to us, because we're always looking for more schools to add to our pre-apprenticeship program. And we have 5 other schools currently involved in that program. And it's a great way for the students to get some of those certifications and exposure, boost their resumes, boost their college applications, put themselves on a pathway, dip their toe into the water and explore a little bit. But I know there's a couple of students right now that are over at Schroeder Industries. We were talking about Leedsdale earlier, Paul.
Yeah.
You probably know Schroeder, but they a couple of kids from Quaker Valley are over there right now working on a part-time basis and exploring that as a career pathway while they're also working towards their certifications. So I think there's a lot of really interesting pathways for individuals to pursue or think about getting into careers that maybe they hadn't thought of before. Paul, we go back to kind of on that vein of what students don't know what they don't know. If you think back to your younger self, what do you wish now that you would have been exposed a little bit more to in school, or known, or somebody would have told you, or anything you want to share with the students about if you could turn back the clock or jump in a DeLorean and change time?
It's a good question, and my initial thought is, when I was in high school, they just said, go to college. I said, well, let's do what? It's like, I don't know. You just got to go to college. You got to get a college degree. And that's, college degree is valuable. And I don't regret getting a college degree, but what I do has nothing to do with what I got a college degree in. And looking back, I could have saved a lot of student loan money by going to a trade school and learning welding or heavy equipment operating. Just be open to your options, and I would find a mentor to help guide you and answer questions, because I had two parents that did not go to college, and they didn't really know what it was like to apply for colleges, and that made it more challenging. So find somebody, whether it's a teacher or a counselor or your parents or somebody that's been through it, and see what options are available to you, and understand what those steps are.
And Paul, I would imagine too that, if you're looking back, like, going to college, getting a degree in something that I'm sure you had some interest in it, and some design, at the time, but, another pathway for students could be go to work, and then the employer could pay for your college or a portion of it. But then maybe you actually take courses that align to what you find that you actually want to do as a career. So for example, you could have taken more accounting classes or business classes, or, whatever in the more of a business track versus the bio space.
Yeah. If you can get somebody else, your employer to pay for your schooling, that's a good deal. You make money, and then you don't spend it. So it's a win-win.
So Amber, I feel like you're already young, so you don't have to look that far back compared to Paul and I. Maybe we have to
look back to yesterday.
But looking back to your younger self, what advice would you give to yourself or give to other students?
I would say in school, just get as involved as you can. That way you can expose yourself to as many possibilities, and that's a great way to find what you're interested in. And I will say, even when I went to college, I always say COVID kind of ruined a lot of it, because half my college didn't really exist because of COVID. I had to move back home, so I missed out on a lot of opportunities, especially in my major, whether it was like tours that they would do, bringing people in for training, all that kind of stuff. I missed a lot of exposure. So I would say, even in high school or whatever, expose yourself to as many different things, join clubs, go on field trips, tours, whatever. That way you can see things that you've never seen before, and maybe try to find out what you're interested in.
That's a great advice, because I think there's a lot of things that students get presented with probably at our schools that are listening to this, that they may think on first blush of it, like, I don't know, that sounds boring, or that doesn't sound at all interesting. Well, it's probably been selected as a tour site because it probably is really interesting. They're not taking you to a boring, mundane, drab place. That's usually not the places selected for tours or visits or experiences. So, some of those things, who knows, you go to something that is totally unrelated to what you think you're interested in, and it might totally spark a different pathway or interest for you. So, well, we're kind of starting to get to the end of our time here. It's going by really fast, but I don't see any questions in the chat as of this moment. But let's just talk a little bit about the future of careers and the future of manufacturing in the region. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but I just want to give you guys a chance to chime in on it a little bit further. Amber, again, you're young in your career. Do you see a long trajectory or opportunities, or what do you see from your perspective, not only for your own personal career, but also manufacturing in general as far as the future?
I would say I do like what I do, and even what Paul said, he went to school for something he doesn't do now. I've been out of school for like over a year, and I'm already starting to do a little bit that I didn't go to school for. But like I said earlier, I do like the HR side. I definitely like learning more about it. And then the safety side is kind of what I went to school for. So I have a little bit of background in it. But as my future, I hopefully plan on staying in the manufacturing field, especially with the safety background. And I hope to continue to do both and continue to learn about both.
Paul, what about you?
So I really enjoy what I do. Every day I travel Western Pennsylvania, Eastern Ohio. I see different people. I see different manufacturing processes, how things are made, and so I see just more of promoting manufacturing in this area and helping. One of the really cool things with compressed air systems is we can show a lot of energy savings. So helping educate manufacturing companies on compressed air and helping them improve their reliability and save energy is what I look forward to doing. Yeah.
I think it's one of the things that's definitely similar to your two companies is that you're both very customer focused, of course. And, that ability to be able to respond to customers in a timely fashion and serve those customers and kind of have that, know that you're in partnership and are serving others, but also like we're in this together kind of thing. But then you also have that amongst your fellow employees, right? And, Amber wants to make sure all of the employees at JV go home with all their fingers and toes and, come the same way they arrived and, but also leave as better versions of themselves too, and that they're on a pathway. So it's an interesting ecosystem that we're all part of. I don't know if either one of you comment on that, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
It's just my diatribe.
We are all interconnected. I need HR and safety to, help me with my healthcare, and safety, keeping my service technicians safe out in the field so they can get work done to take care of my customers, and customers are happy. They buy more equipment. It is a full circle ecosystem of everybody's on the same team, and when you have the same common goal, it feels good. It's good for everybody.
Amber, any parting thoughts for us? Anything that you wanted to share that we didn't touch on today? Any last tips or advice?
I would say I agree with all of that. And again, being young and everything, it's been great to learn about all kinds of things and step out of my comfort zone. And since I'm in two departments, kind of, I get to see all kinds of different things, and it's been really great. And I encourage everyone to just try to figure out what they like, and if you don't, try something different and you might end up liking it.
Paul, any last minute words of advice?
Yeah, keep your options open and understand what's available to you, and yeah, if you like it, then that's great, and if not, there's something else for you, and it's out there.
And it can afford you the nice lifestyle to be able to travel to Florida
Exactly. Yes.
Way to put it.
You can jump on Zoom
I think it's where we started was, hey, Paul's in Florida, and we are going to end with, hey, Paul's in Florida. So
yes, I'm going to go to the beach.
So those that are watching virtually, those that are here with us live, again, we thank you for spending a few minutes with us, getting to know both Paul and Amber, getting to hear a little bit more about careers. Hopefully you gained a little bit of insight into some things to think about for your future careers and pathways. You can certainly look at down in the description. This is going to be on our YouTube channel as well as elsewhere, and see a link to a website, explorenewmfg.org. And on that website, you can certainly learn more about information about careers manufacturing. We've got video games you can download and play on your phones to learn more about some of the skills in manufacturing and high demand careers. We've got a lot of video content on that website. For teachers, there's other programs that we run that you can learn more about on that website as well. So that's all linked in the description below. But again, big shout out and thanks to Paul and Amber for joining us today. Thank you for being a part of our Navigators program and for sharing some of your insights with the students today. Be safe out there, and we'll talk with everybody again soon.
Thanks.
Thank you.